Hey, I can start with X-Men Days of Future Past if you want to go in on that.
Is it the first movie this summer blockbuster season we both actually saw?
Yeah.
Since you didn't see Amazing Spider-Man and I didn't see Godzilla, we could talk about this.
So, X-Men Days of Future Past came out, and Vonnie and I went to go see it. Pat's seen it. Actually, Pat and I have not exchanged any opinions as to what we thought about it yet, so this is all new to us. So before we get into what we thought, basically, Days of Future Past, this will probably contain spoilers.
Oh, this is going to be spoiler heavy.
This
really.
is probably going to be spoiler heavy.
Turn off right now.
Yeah, if you don't want to know. Days of Future Past is weird because it's held up in X-Men mythology as a
You're talking the comic story.
Yeah, it's held up as a pivotal moment, and it is. But it's more pivotal because it happens during the arrival of Kitty Pryde. X-Men Days of Future Past, the actual arc. If you go out and you buy it in a book in a trade now, the story that they mimic in theaters is 2 whole issues long from start to finish. It is incredibly short. Mm-hmm. But it is a Kitty Pryde story. I mean, it's the story of her becoming an X-Man. Like, it's her, proving her worth.
That was
to the team.
late 70s.
81.
81.
81. So that said, it's got some good art, good stories. The whole Kitty Pryde arrival thing has got some fun stories around it, the annuals that surround it, but the actual Days of Future Past is short, and it is nothing like what you see in the movie.
Okay. My familiarity with it is the cartoon. Did an adaptation of it, the early 90s cartoon, which was overall very, very good. And they did an adaptation of it, which, while I've not read the comic, I think that was probably closer than the movies, even the cartoon was. That said, I don't mind the fact that they had to change it. Obviously,
no. I see. That's the thing. So to jump into what I think about the movie, and then we can discuss things. Is I really enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was fantastic, and there's a couple of reasons why. My number one beef with it, just to get out of the way, is Kitty Pryde's my favorite X-Man, and it wasn't a fucking Kitty Pryde story. And it took me a minute to get over that, but when I left the theater, I was like, that was so good, I don't really care that they changed so much.
Yeah, it was an adaptation.
It was an adaptation.
And Kitty Pryde didn't have a huge role in X-Men 3. Anyway, she was in it, but she didn't have a huge role.
Right.
She was like a secondary character.
So that's the bad to any Kitty Pryde fan who was hoping that Days of Future Past would be
hardcore Kitty Pryde fans.
They exist. I'm one of them.
I'm sure they are. Every weird X-Men has a hardcore set of fans.
One of the only statues I own is the Kitty Pryde that Vonnie got me last year. For
all
my
75 X-Men members that each has a hardcore following.
But here's what I loved about it. It didn't pander. I think I saw this somewhere, but it's true because I thought about it when we were watching it. I've never seen a superhero movie quite like Days of Future Past that did not fall over itself trying to explain origins and backstory and anything. It was like, if you're here, you're probably here because you know what you're getting into. And there were people around me in the theater who were confused. What's going on? What's this? What's that? But I, as a comic fan, enjoyed the movie more because they didn't...
What were they confused about? The 2 different times?
Well, the 2 different times, and, who's this character, and where did this character come from?
Okay, just to back up. So the movie starts in the near future.
Yeah.
With the X-Men getting obliterated.
Right.
You have a lot of the ones from the... Okay, this if you don't know, you should. This combines both X-Men universes. It combines the original 3 movies as well as the 2 Wolverine standalones, and it combines it with the very, very good First Class movie that came out 3 years ago.
Which I still need to see.
I cannot believe you did not see that. And you really did not see this and did not see First Class to set it up.
I don't need to. I've explained this before. I read comics. I don't need to see every movie.
But you didn't see the characterizations of these people.
No.
How awesome McAvoy and Fassbender were in the original one, and how that carried over.
I mean, I do think McAvoy and Fassbender are fantastic in Days of Future.
I cannot believe you just said that. You didn't see it. I really...
I don't see every movie. I don't see a lot of movies.
All right. That said, so they didn't explain, like, they show Warpath. They show Bishop.
I think people
Blinks, who I never even heard of before the movie, honestly. And then there was another character that was fiery, almost like Human Torch. I had no idea who that was. I thought that was Pyro, but then Pyro I know doesn't flame up, so it wasn't him, it was someone else. So those 4 characters were totally new. Didn't explain. I didn't mind because I figured, hey, they're just mutants helping out. I recognized Warpath and I recognized Bishop. I recognized them. Okay, I didn't recognize them.
You don't remember Blink?
No.
Oh,
Not Blink's the cat. It was Blink. Okay, no.
It's just Blink, yeah. No. But no, I mean I think that's what I'm referring to, though. Like, you have people like them that they just throw them in there with almost no explanation, and that's fine for someone like me. I'm like, boom, awesome, sweet, cool. I see all these characters. I'm like, this is awesome. What is also pretty cool is there are things that they weirdly adhere to from the comic. Like that lineup is actually fairly accurate to the lineup that is
For Days of Future Past?
Yeah, that is experiencing
Well,
problems.
see, I didn't know that. So,
that's weird. You know, I mean, Mystique does feature heavily in the original 2-issue, story arc. So they do get some of that right. But man, I mean, McAvoy and Fassbender nail it in their scenes.
Well, that's why, I mean, if you haven't seen the first one, the first movie was about them. This movie wasn't about them. This was a Mystique movie to me. This is heavily centered on Mystique, as she had an actual character. She was the one that had the biggest character arc out of everyone. She's the one that drove the action.
Well, it's interesting, I guess, to me, and what I like about how they. Another reason why I'm so happy with how they handled McAvoy and Fassbender, or more broadly Magneto and Xavier, is they don't factor in any way like they do in the movie. Mm-hmm. In the comic, it's Mystique, and she leads a brotherhood of mutants, and they're going to assassinate a politician, as opposed to God damn it, what's his name? He's mentioned once. Trask. He's mentioned once in the entire comic. But yeah, so it's different. So they had to find a new villain, and they did it very, very well. Whereas instead of Mystique being the main villain, Mystique is the torn between. She's the conflicted character.
If you've seen the First Class, she starts off at the side of Xavier.
No, that I know.
And then she gradually leaves him, which is like sort of the heartbreaking moment of the movie. She goes with Magneto. That was a smart move, because Jennifer Lawrence is a very, very good actress.
And she did fantastic in that role.
She's already won an Oscar, and she's like, 22, 23, whatever she is. She was excellent in American Hustle. She got nominated for that, too. She was excellent. I think she won a Golden Globe for that. And to put the movie on her really was smart, just for that alone, to make her that pivotal sort of character that, again, drove the action, decides the basically ending of the movie, and decides everyone's fate, and the fate of basically the mutants. I thought it was great that they reconciled both universes of the movie. And Bryan Singer, basically, this was his penance for ruining X-Men 3 by leaving the project and giving it to Brett Ratner. And X-Men 3 was absolutely horrific.
Right.
Just an awful, awful film. And he also ruined Superman by taking that movie and doing Superman Returns, which was not a good movie, but X-Men 3 was worse. So it was his penance for that in a few ways, because this is a huge spoiler. This movie wipes out X-Men 3 from ever happening.
Yes.
This could be the first time you ever have a movie that's been retconned. But they did it happening. But they did it in such a great way.
But how they did it was so amazing.
Using the time, basically time travel and time fixing itself.
But they didn't even have to invent it. It was there in the canon for them to take. It was a couple of clever rewires. Boom, we've eliminated this shitty movie.
I went with my lady friend, and I actually cheered a little bit when I realized that they showed both Jean Grey, and then they showed Cyclops. I was like, ah! Because Cyclops got so dicked over in those first 3 X-Men movies. He did so little that now when they do the next one, he actually has a chance to actually become the leader of the team and do stuff.
And in the comic, it's perfect, because this is another thing they follow in the comic. He leaves right before Kitty Pryde arrives.
Okay.
He's gone for all of the Days of Future Past stuff.
So it kind of worked.
And then he comes back 2 issues after that. The
fact of the matter is, so you basically have a chance now for the next movie to continue from where X-Men 2 should have. Having Jean Grey not dead, Cyclops is not dead, having all the rest of the cast, having Colossus from X-Men 3, having Kitty Pryde, even having Jubilee had a cameo. Not Jubilee, sorry. Rogue, not Jubilee. Rogue. Yeah, and she actually had another scene film that they actually cut out of the movie. So she actually originally had a bigger part. So all the original cast that you loved, and even Beast, even had Kelsey Grammer for the Beast count. I was like, this is fucking awesome that they fixed the first time ever I think they actually fixed the movie from ever existing, and no one's complaining about it.
So I thought that was fantastic. I mean, just how they fixed it, how they pulled interesting things from the comic, how they didn't necessarily. I understand that if you make a superhero movie, you gotta explain some things, but I really like how they didn't over-explain. Just thought it was great. I mean,
it was cool seeing Iceman actually ice
Ice
up,
up.
because in X-Men 3 he does it for a split second and it was the cheapest thing ever. I was so pissed off. He actually iced up and went around. Iceman is probably my favorite X-Men character.
he's one of my favorites.
And he was given he was shortchanged too in X-Men 3, so he was there. It was just everything. I didn't even mind the Sentinel, how they changed their look of the modern one, because it made sense in the story. Because the original ones in the early 70s looked more like the classic one. So I didn't mind that.
That was my thing when we sat down and we watched it and you first got a look. I was like, I don't like these Sentinels, but they did a good job of explaining why they looked the way they do.
Sure.
And then you get something that looks Sentinel-esque in the 70s.
Yes.
So they really did a good job of pleasing, dare I say, almost everyone.
Yeah, they really did. And when you sit back and look at this is totally it's a comic movie, but it's so dramatic in terms of what goes on. There's not a lot of action scenes in this.
The amount of action is minimal, but you leave the movie not caring.
No, you don't. And that's what a good comic book does. Obviously, you have a big finale, but compared to Spider-Man or compared to Captain America, the amount of action is minimal. The amount of actual combat is not that much. You see Magneto lift the stadium and surround the White House. Is really a cool visual.
Yeah,
but I mean, there isn't a lot of actual combat going on between the characters, besides in the future where they have to fend off the Sentinels.
And actually, I didn't much. I mean, it was decent, but it was combat for the sake of combat. It was basically contrasting. It was to show you, here's what's going on,
yes,
and you get a couple of action scenes. But if there was a weakness to the movie, I would almost say it's the action, because it wasn't particularly. It's not that it was bad. It was just
wasn't dynamic.
Well, yeah, and you feel like they're throwing it in because they have to, because they do. But honestly, it was never the action scenes that I was really looking forward to. I wanted them to further the plot.
You basically see all the X-Men in the future die twice.
Yep.
Basically, at the beginning of the movie, you see him die again.
Yeah.
I mean, it has some weight to it, seeing like Storm getting run through with the blade.
Storm was a pretty rough one. Yeah.
Iceman was pretty rough, getting his head cut off.
Oh yeah,
stuff like that.
And crushed. I think. Yeah.
Colossus got crushed too.
Colossus got. Colossus got ripped in two.
He got ripped in two. That's right. Oh, he got crushed in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So it is rough seeing those X-Men die, but it's so great just seeing, again, they rectified the third movie. We have Age of Apocalypse in 2016. So I'm going to be looking forward to that, because I don't know. I guess it's confirmed they're going to use the modern cast versus the First Class cast. So is this going to be the last movie with the excellent First Class cast? I wonder how they're going to do that going forward.
I mean, my hope is this was another thing that kind of disappointed me, and it wasn't the movie's fault. It's the story, and the story was good, but it was cool seeing Storm. It was cool seeing Halle Berry with the short hair.
It was cool that she had very few lines because she's not a good actress. I was very impressed.
No, but I mean, but I don't mind her as Storm. I'm thinking back to the first two X-Men movies, which I enjoyed, and it was cool seeing Anna Paquin briefly as Rogue. She never factored into Days of Future Past in the comic, anyways.
But she was an integral part of all three movies.
Yes. So it's cool seeing them all, but it's like I told Vonnie as we were leaving. Hugh Jackman's not getting any younger,
but he still looks better than he did before.
and I mean, Kitty Pryde's a young character, and I mean and so is she's cute. I like her, and I forget her name.
What character are you talking about?
Pride.
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page. So I mean, I feel like they've got to move. I feel like they've got one more movie where all these characters are believably their characters.
I mean, sure. I mean, the X-Men can age a little bit. I mean, Halle Berry, she's got to be mid-40s by now. Hugh Jackman's 45. He looks so much younger because he's ripped. He's in way better shape than he was 10 years ago.
But, I mean, the benefit of playing Wolverine is Wolverine looks grizzled and old.
But again, I think this is great that you're gonna have another movie in 2 years. Hopefully, I don't know if they're gonna bring back not seeing Fassbender ever again as Magneto would be a shame, because he's so fantastic as it. But then you're gonna get a chance to see the original team reunite. I'm very happy about that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I had little complaints with the movie. I thought it surprised me. I loved First Class, but this was better. This was, like I said, it was a Mystique movie, but I didn't care.
No, like I said,
Jennifer Lawrence was really good.
I loved it. My big complaint was that it was the wrong main character, and by the end, I just didn't care. It was just good.
The other part about it is that while Wolverine was in it, he was not the star of the movie. Which there was an X movie with Wolverine that he was not the star of.
I feel like he was basically. I would disagree there.
He was there to get it going. But then once it gets to the final scenes in the middle, he doesn't really do much. He just kind of sits around.
No, but he carries the plot. I'm not saying he
propels the plot, but he's not the main character. He isn't. He really isn't.
that's fair. You're right. I guess.
I mean, half the time when they go back to the future, he's just stuck there in the head, and then if he doesn't do anything at the ending, he's useless with his bow and claws.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
that was awesome to see.
Which, by the way,
bring that up.
well, you didn't see the Wolverine last year, did you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, Jesus Christ! So that's where that comes from.
I don't want to see that. I mean, I heard
it was really good. It was good.
My brother's a massive Wolverine fan, and he was like, I don't want to.
It was better than Wolverine Origins. It was a lot better.
Oh,
but he gets his adamantium for his claws ripped out in that one. That's why.
Quickly, no pun intended. Quicksilver's scene was great.
Really good.
And it's a shame that it's not going to be that Quicksilver in.
No, yeah, that was probably the most well put together scene in the entire movie was Quicksilver's attack scene, and seeing him in his real time run around the room, take out all the enemy agents and the plastic guns. I love it when he's pushing the bullets. He's pushing the bullets. He's just tapping the guys in the cheek to knock them out. He's going so quickly. And really funny. I forgot he was listening to that song, that 70s song. I forget which one it was, but it was very appropriate. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll show up as an extra old one in the next movie. Maybe not. But yes, he's going to show up as a different actor in the next Avengers movie next year already, which is weird to think about. And it'll be a different character, and you're going to have Scarlet Witch. In the Marvel universe, but we'll see what happens with that. So there you go. You have homework to do. You have to see First Class.
First Class, I plan on seeing. I didn't see it at the time because I was being one of those annoying fanboys, and I was just like, it's not fucking. Here's the thing.
But it's not the comic. It's the movie universe. It's gotta be different.
I know. But if they could just stop, I'm over it now, and I'll go back and see First Class. But First Class was not the First Class.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Days of Future Past was barely Days of Future Past.
It's a different medium. Read the damn comic book if you want it to be exactly the same.
It doesn't need to be the exact same. Expectations. I'm over it now. Days of Future Past has cured me of it. Age of Apocalypse. There's no way Age of Apocalypse is going to be anywhere near what the comic was. So I'm just looking forward to it for what it is, because they've proven to me that they can take an idea and turn it into a reasonable movie.
I just think it's funny that you're going to have Age of Apocalypse a year after, basically. Well, Thanos is not going to be the main villain. He won't be until 2018. But you're going to have this time frame where you're going to have Thanos, Apocalypse, and possibly maybe Darkseid even in the Justice League movie. Who knows? It's just funny to have the three big sort of villains like that in the same movies. All right, we're going to move on. So, he doesn't like anything. Yeah, you guys don't like any movies or games.
I hate stuff. I hate everything.